I remember saying something like, I do get lightheaded. Maybe you should drive.
So if I had to summarize Fallout Season 2, I'd say it's a lot like CX. You know, the dog companion in the show. And for a lot of people, CX is a good dog. She's funny, she does the unexpected, she can evade minigun fire. She flat out seems better than some of the other dogs we've seen over the years. The cupcakes of video game adaptations, if you will. And after so many cupcakes, for many gamers out here I know, it's good to get a little taste of something other than pure boy massacring atrocity. Or they just happen to like CX. She seems cool, but here's the thing, CX isn't cool. Look a little deeper, think on things a while, and you'll realize she's kind of a bad dog, to be honest. She'll be loyal and on top of it one second, and then flip around on you the next. Ready to tear out throats right away, and then super late to the draw. Be at your side, and then give you the last thing you could possibly need.
Thanks for that satchel. Come on, I don't need the fucking hat. You stupid fucking dog!
Maybe she means well, but she's got some big issues to being a companion. And I feel sort of crazy pointing it out, because people seem to dig CX. But then I remember what came before, and I'm talking beyond cupcake here. I'm talking dog meat. The OG. In the original Fallout game, dog meat was one hell of a dog. He was loyal, he was always fighting against your enemies, even if you could get one tap towards the end. The dude straight up canonically died walking into an energy force field, trying to defeat the super mutant threat. Yeah, he wasn't perfect either, but dog meat was a bro. There was a fiery little soul to the dude, and when I compare him to CX, who the show winds up calling dog meat, there's little comparison.
I'm sorry, dog meat, but you ain't him.
So basically, this is my video essay way of saying I didn't like Fallout Season 2. I'm not gonna act like it's abysmally bad, because I've seen The Abyss, and this isn't that. Also, I will fully admit, I'm definitely in the minority here. Even way back with my Season 1 thoughts on it being meh, Season 1 was a critical and commercial hit. Same with Season 2 now. On my channel, I even posted a poll for people to rate this season, and as of this recording, the majority vote is that it's good. So I fully expect to get some flack for this video. But I will be honorable here, even in the face of possibly many mean YouTube comments. I'm not calling anyone tourists or sticking my nose up as an elite fan. I'm just gonna give my honest to God thoughts on why this season didn't really work for me. In fact, I'm gonna start off with things I liked, with some defenses as well. For example, I like Coop Howard. I think he's got a little too much history to him, almost like a high-intelligence Forrest Gump at this point, meeting the president and maybe causing the end of the world, on top of everything else. But I like the character. Walton Goggins does a great job here, making him compelling across what's almost like two different characters. Pre-war Coop dealing with corporate conspiracy, and post-war Ghoul dealing with what's left of his humanity. Also, Frances Turner, who plays Coop's wife Barb, is really good as well. I do buy the two as husband and wife, which can be real hard to pull off right. Fallout 4 showed that, but here, no joke, it really does just work. Hank turned out to be a pretty interesting villain. Kyle MacLachlan gives him a weird charm and warmth that I dug. It's creepy, but also passionate and caring. I also liked him in Season 1, where I thought he could make a good villain in Season 2, better than Moldaver, who I didn't really care for. And thankfully, we did get a good villain here. And honestly, I think he's like a better version of Father from Fallout 4, seemingly wanting to chip a bunch of surface dwellers and making people unaware of the past and almost perfect versions of themselves. I like the brain-computer interface technology. Even with my own feelings, it shouldn't have been a Robco product cooked up by Mr. House. I also liked how, in a way, maybe unintentionally, it's a twisted answer to the need to let go, which was a theme in the game New Vegas. Factions and characters were being haunted by the past, causing pain in the present, and here's seemingly a solution to that. It's even complete with a built-in amnesia dial. So you don't have to get shot in the head to forget, you just have to put a chip on it. How nice. Vault 24, the commie vaults that never made it into the original game, makes an appearance here, which was pretty neat. I do really like the abandoned vault stuff a lot in the show. I think it really does nail the horror aspect to them. Granted, 24 doesn't come close to how Vault 32 was done in Season 1, but it's still good, and I do have a defense of it. Don't get me wrong, I don't like the idea of it presumably being owned by House, because again, I wish the brain tech wasn't his. But I have seen people say how dumb it is how a vault was being used to turn US civilians into communists to test brainwashing. And, is it really all that dumb? Why waste resources getting Chinese prisoners or soldiers that give US propaganda when you can just test a bunch of US citizens and try turning them into something they're absolutely not? There's no patriotic loyalty with the vaults, it's a bunch of weird and evil human experiments. It's probably cheaper using Americans in this case. Also, with the ultimate goal of the vaults being either to make a generational spaceship for the Enclave using data from the vaults to implement certain technology, or to recolonize the surface successfully, I think either path could utilize brainwashing pretty effectively. So I don't know, it's just kind of weird seeing those complaints. I didn't dislike Vault 24. Just like I don't dislike the Demon in the Snow scene with the Deathclaw in Alaska. I'm basically fine with it. Yeah, there's the Chinese girl boss moment, but China is also an utterly desperate commie state in the pre-war, willing to recruit anything at this point to survive. And well, it's not like she stays a girl boss, maybe more like girl bits. Anyways, this leads me to the main issue people have. Some fans think the Deathclaw usage was stupid or a retcon, because why is there a Deathclaw deployed in Alaska? How can a Deathclaw even be deployed in cold weather and survive? It's genetically engineered from DNA of the Jackson's chameleon, it's seemingly mostly reptile, and that would surely make it cold-blooded, requiring heat. Well, Deathclaws in the lore were always unholy designer babies bred in labs to be used as living bioweapons. Their genes could be engineered any which way, like with the intelligent Deathclaws in Fallout 2, whose intelligence gene was made to be male-dominant. Is it that much of a stretch to say this Deathclaw wasn't designed with some sort of body temperature adjustment gene or some other science gobbledygook? Plus, it's not like Deathclaws in general are entirely reptile like they look. There's other animal genes spliced into them as well, so that could possibly affect some things too. As for why it doesn't kill Coop, this one kinda stumped me. I just assume it was trained to spot certain differences in who it kills. Still, I like the scene. It made the Deathclaw menace palpable for a tiny bit, and it kinda reminded me of those stories of soldiers seeing truly bizarre stuff. Even defending it, I will admit that none of these excuses I made are explained. I do think a lot would immediately be fixed, where instead of using the standard Deathclaw, we got the hairy Deathclaw from Fallout Tactics, or even the one from Fallout 1's concept art. You wouldn't even have to sacrifice the juxtaposition between pre-war and post-war Deathclaws, just keep the eyes and claws the same, which Coop recognizes, almost as if, like him, it had to change to survive the wasteland. It wouldn't be the same Deathclaw, obviously, but I think it'd work better. Lastly, I liked the sets, the costumes, the special effects, the music I liked, not the ambient music. I just found it weaker than Mark Morgan or Inon Zur's stuff. But the 50s music I did really like. My favorite piece from the season is either Ballad of the Trumpet by Raphael or Chain Gang by Sam Cooke. I like Sam Cooke a lot, he's got good stuff. The acting was solid enough, with certain exceptions. When the show wanted to be serious, like a good amount of the pre-war Coop scenes, I was hooked. My mind wasn't in chaos mode, trying to process what I was watching, like some other scenes.
That was cool.
Which leads me to why I don't like Season 2. It's not the lore that's the big problem for me. It's really the tone. For example, I really like Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. And it's pretty far away from a faithful adaptation, even King doesn't like it. But what I think it nails is the tone, how the story is told, the feeling and mood that it gives you. This season of Fallout has a tone that feels all over the place. It's like an unfunny parody at points, with its humor and certain swaths of characters. I know people had issues with this with Season 1 as well, but I don't know, this is the season where that really ramped up for me. Like, for example, how the Brotherhood of Steel are handled here. The Brotherhood are simply cartoon-level morons now. There's a scene with a Brotherhood dude who's standing at a meeting with his leader and faction heads of the other West Coast groups, and he's playing with a live grenade. Like, this is almost straight out of an epic movie or something. Not that the meeting is any better.
You just like that they let you fuck robots.
That was one squire, and he was well within his rights.
I know the West Coast Brotherhood was said to have lost its way in Season 1, but this is how they're framing it. There's so many ways to show a selfish, greedier Brotherhood or a decadent one, but they choose to make it into a goof. And something about this and other moments just take me right out of the show. In the Trilateral Vault storyline, in the midst of a water chip crisis, there's an incest club / support group that gets created. And as you can probably guess, everyone inside is mainly a joke. Most of the dwellers besides Norm, Chet, or Betty aren't really like human beings to be treated seriously. They're more like one-dimensional cartoon characters you're supposed to laugh at, as though they really are just silly cattle beneath the major Vault players. Personally, I would have liked more serious characterization. Hell, humanization with these characters. Don't make it a laugh, make it real. I thought when the Vault division was happening and this door was closing, stuff was gonna get more serious. But nope. Vault 33 almost gets real, but it also has a giant incest part of the story, making it a joke. And how does the Vault storyline end? With the Dwellers being a mindless mob. I have a similar issue with the citizens of the Mojave being almost a bunch of soulless nobodies. I couldn't name you a single character outside of Victor or House. All the citizens are just cruel, indifferent folks mainly living in Freeside, which given the state of Vegas, I would say is a little more realistic than the Vault stuff. I'll give it that. But I do wish there were some more sympathetic characters beyond the NCR faces we get. Good folk like in Good Springs or Novak. I really liked how down-to-earth and human the Mojave characters felt in New Vegas. It's part of why I really like the game so much. And we do get this one Freesider humanized a bit when he almost goes out to help Max, after realizing he's just a kid defending the town. But then we get NCR Deus Ex Machina. I got really two side notes here. The first is that this is where I'm going to be talking a lot more about lore stuff from here on out. And two, I have a prediction of sorts. I'm going to call it now, and maybe I'll be wrong with this since Hank did point out the NCR's problems.
High taxes, expansionist tendencies, unpopular foreign policy. You'll understand when you're older.
Basically, I think there will be a weird lack of tension between the NCR and locals moving forward. In New Vegas, NCR occupation wasn't heroic or good. It was a subtle conquest of the region. At best, something morally ambiguous. So, unless they were going with a Starship Troopers vibe with this, making this triumphant NCR return scene is kinda tonally deaf. It's not just parody, it's like NCR propaganda. This is a pretty good segue into my next issue. And worse than them getting certain details wrong, like the map or Dinky the Dino facing the wrong way, is the lack of nuance given the factions or people. I made a joke in my episode 1 video that Mr. House is more like Mr. Stay in Your House in the show, which is still the case by the end of the season, especially with that horror movie flicker of him. Like, really? Come on now. For those who don't know, in New Vegas, Mr. House is a cunning, ruthless businessman who schemes his way to success. He's someone who relies on others or machines to do the grunt work while he plans for the future. He's extremely calculating, and we get to see that side of him in the show.
I don't like unknown variables. Irksome.
Said show makes him into a sociopathic murderer in his first scene, antagonizing his workers in person and then using one as a living robot to beat others to death before exploding his head. It was so out there that fans actually came up with a theory this wasn't Robert House, that this was secretly his brother Anthony House going bonkers. I feel that should say a lot. However, it is Robert House, who we learn has been using a body double for business affairs, and he's just pretty cuckoo overall. Now, I don't hate Mr. House. I like his actor, Justin Theroux. I like the performance, but as an adaptation of a character who is genuinely complex, it feels like some of the depth has been undone here. Everything about this intro scene and the bathroom one seems wrong to me. People will defend the show and say Mr. House has always been a freak, who made his own robot girlfriend, and that he's not a good dude, which is true. He's no saint. He's the reason poor Doc Mitchell lost his wife, and he does strike me as an ends justify the means kind of guy. But he doesn't strike me as this weird serial killer who gets up close and personal, who would take the risk of going into a back alley with people he just insulted, then hope he doesn't have his arms broken so he could put this device on a dude. Or hope his buddies don't immediately jump him. That's still kind of strange to me. Like, they could have rushed in to try to get the chip off their friend, but it's whatever. Their friendship wasn't nuanced, I guess. And that bathroom scene, okay, level with me here, fans of Fallout Season 2. What the hell is this? I'm no soldier, but if a stranger's getting this close to me in a public restroom, that might be hands. I'm not lying here. Like, Mr. House is predicting that a stressed out soldier who's killed people before won't freak the hell out at someone getting this close to him in a bathroom in a time period where nobody can trust each other. Isn't that one hell of a gamble? Except Mr. House didn't strike me as the gambling sort. He struck me as the House, and the House always wins. Here, he doesn't seem like he did it through smarts. It seemed like he did it out of dumb luck.
I don't like unknown variables. Irksome. Hit me in the mouth. I think I'd enjoy it.
With regards to Mr. House, the last thing I'll bring up here is the mind control. Again, I just wish this wasn't a Robco product or something Mr. House was personally experimenting with, because he doesn't strike me as a person who wanted to make people into machines outside himself. It's a way of making him more of a villain than he already was, just so we know that he's definitively bad. Why not tone things down, make him more ambiguous? Your first actual impression of the dude is him turning a guy's head into meat soup. Stay in your house, people. So yeah, I kind of found that dumb. And speaking of dumb, the Brotherhood. I don't even know where to start. Except to say, it feels like they made the Brotherhood into the side villains of a little kid's cartoon or something. Like, any nuance that could have been found exploring how they maintain order is stripped almost immediately. They're not preserving technology or discoveries, they're annihilating it. And no joke, in a better show, I do think this could have been a powerful scene. It could show how far the Brotherhood has fallen, that they don't act as their ancestors once did, caring for that old tech. But it's not framed like a fall from grace, it's framed like a joke. And that's what the Brotherhood of Steel is here. A joke. Fans were saying this and harping on them back in Season 1. I tried coming up with the defense in my big review, saying it was all tied to the Brotherhood losing its way comment that Quintus makes.
The Brotherhood has lost its way.
That their decadence could be interesting, and was hopefully gonna be addressed more in Season 2. I thought that could be cool. My apologies. I really am sorry. I guess I made a monkey's paw wish somewhere in all this. Because the decadence we get means you're either a stupid military idiot or you're a goody two-shoes. There's no in between. Quintus himself dissolves into a dumb, generic bad guy with no nuance. This is just such a shame to me because I liked him a lot in Season 1. He had zeal for the Brotherhood, he was manipulative, he was smart, he made Max into a red shirt, and then he took him under his wing at the end. So I thought going into Season 2, there was potential to have him be a good villain. That he was going to be this old leader who's like a captain trying to keep the ship that's sinking from sinking. We could have learned how he rose to power, maybe how he feels he came in too late, and he's sitting down leveling with Max by telling him this, all the while actually manipulating Max with quests making him the sword of the Brotherhood in a power grab to secure its place in the 23rd century. But no, Quintus is actually a big stupid jerk who is stupid. He seizes Area 51 but lets his goons blow up technology without punishment, when A, he wanted the Brotherhood to be better than it had devolved into, and B, he wants to go against the entire East Coast Brotherhood. You're gonna need everything you can get your hands on, yet his salvage team is comprised of... What really does it for me is the scene where Quintus is trying to save his own life, right? While Max is holding him at gunpoint. You're gonna want to pull out all the stops, and initially, he is being manipulative. Max isn't shooting him. It seems to be working, until Max says he didn't want to kill ghoul kids, to which Quintus actually turns his back and starts insulting him.
I should never have shown mercy to you. Never.
I am not kidding. My mouth dropped seeing this. His brain has left the body and he wasn't shot in the head. Granted, Max is dumb enough to let the dude get his gun, but still, Quintus could have been capped here. Where's that manipulation and intelligence I saw in season 1? It was so silly to see this. Bro got flanderized in the second season. We're gonna move on to Max. Max is definitely less of an idiot and psycho like he was in season 1, which, I'll be fair here, that's probably the right call ultimately. But I do feel sad we lost his moral ambiguity. I honestly liked that part of his character in season 1. I liked the idea of a Brotherhood of Steel member being the opposite of the ideal knight. How he was selfish and cowardly. I liked that, even though I'll admit it wasn't well executed. One of my regrets in my big review is how I defended Max a little too much. But I did dig the character concept, and I thought we'd get to see some interesting moral dilemmas of Max wanting to be the sword, but also a good person in season 2. Now this is a conspiracy of mine, but what I believe happened is the showrunners saw how much people thought Max sucked as a morally dubious idiot, that instead of fixing the issue of him being super lucky and getting away with nearly everything bad he did, which was legitimately annoying, they just threw the baby out with the bathwater and made him an all-around good dude. So now he's not super selfish or cowardly or really all that dumb anymore. He's just a decent hero who low-key causes the West Coast Brotherhood to collapse. But hey, they deserved it. They were the dumb bad guys, not him this time. There's no reason a Brotherhood civil war couldn't have worked. It could have been very interesting to see actually, not just in the fighting, but the clash of ideologies as well. Except in the show, it's just a joke again. Because Hot Dog Guy, who's an emissary from the East Coast Brotherhood, gets his head crushed by Max for wanting to shoot ghoul kids, who just so happened to be at the same location Thaddeus was, so he stuffs him into the dude's power armor to pretend being the guy. And then Thaddeus fails a speech check in front of the Brotherhood leaders while they're trying to cut deals with them, and then, you know.
That was cool.
I'm not exaggerating when I say this is worse than Bethesda writing. We've talked a lot about the Brotherhood of Steel, so let's get to some of the other factions. I talked about my issues with the cons in my episode 1 video, but to summarize, I thought they were a generic raider faction in Fallout 1 and 2, given so much more depth and humanity in New Vegas. They were explored as a dwindling group of raiders that were at a crossroads of where to go, how to forge their own future, either by joining the Legion, who stood against the NCR, the very group that butchered the Khan's loved ones, or by letting go and leaving their place in the Mojave, not getting any justice, but getting a chance to begin again. The show makes the choice to turn them into generic raiders again, to be butchered and turned into meat soup. I will say, there were multiple subgroups and cliques of Khans in New Vegas, so yeah, these guys probably aren't the only Khans. I get it, but framing is everything, and we don't see any more of them in Season 2, so it just seems like they chose to dumb these dudes down and make them slaughter victims for Coop. This could just be really subjective on my part. The wasteland isn't always fair, people and factions die. But it just seems like the show taking something with some meat on it and stripping it down to the bone. Just like the kings are almost withered down to the bone. Man, that's kind of sad. How were they just left around when the front gates exactly? There's no traitors on the outside willing to shoot them? Were they just like recently irradiated or something? But then why dump them outside?
I want to thank the fans of Fallout New Vegas for not burning my house to the ground. You'll be very happy you didn't.
And let that.
We touched on my prediction with the NCR, and Hank does give a laundry list of their problems in the end, but on the subject of lack of nuance, Lucy just cuts him off and says this.
One side is murdering people, enslaving them, and the other side is just vaguely problematic.
So you can kind of see my worry here, where the writers aren't going to heed the complexity of the NCR, and they're just going to make them into good guys, much like Lucy sees them as. But then Lucy is also really naive and dumb, so there is an out here. Another big clue, and this is going to lead me into Caesar's Legion, is how that faction is depicted in Season 2. In this whole season, you basically just get NCR good and Caesar's Legion bad. You don't get any hints of any positives about the Legion, like the game had suggested, such as them providing safety and security to traders and those in their territories, or how the Legion was deceptively smart. Their spies and scouts were all over the place in New Vegas, learning the lay and ways of the land, compared to the NCR's military forces, who were so utterly overextended and slowed down by bureaucracy that they couldn't even help a town that was under siege when they were camped right next to it. To be fair, even characters in New Vegas said that without Caesar, the Legion would fall or devolve into something worse, since that's what happens with many cults of personality. Once the head is gone, the rest doesn't fare so good. So the Legion devolving into a dumb raider clan isn't absolutely terrible, but how it's depicted is. In the show, the Legion is divided and at war with itself, which in theory could mean two interesting Roman-inspired factions with their own beliefs or customs, unique characters with their own motivations and perspectives for carrying on Caesar's will and legacy. Insert nuance. What it means in the show is having two camps of Mad Max bad guys literally next to each other, which are based below a hill. So both leaders are just constantly exposed to potential sniper fire. It's not like that backwards Legion has any sniper experience though, right? The reason the original Caesar was on a hill is because that has tactical advantages, like having the high ground. But the setup is so stupid on so many levels. Caesar's body, the person they view as a god, like the son of Mars, he's just like left in the dirt. He's exposed to the elements where the successors declared on a piece of paper. Like, wouldn't that be damaged eventually, right? Why not put it on a slab of gold or something that'll last, and whoever made it, Kaiser had killed as a sacrifice, something gnarly like that. But again, it's on a piece of paper that probably wouldn't have lasted this long. It's just kind of a weird retcon in my eyes. Like, I could buy a new Caesar coming about, leaving the fort, getting poisoned or sick, so he decides screw it, right? But if this is Ed, why didn't we know about the sign in the game? You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of a lame retcon here, and I'm not sure how to feel about the sign. A good friend of mine did make the argument to me that this could still be in line with his character, since he never truly appointed a successor. Also, I did have the idea that maybe the sign could have been a hint something's off. Like the showrunners were trying to create a mystery of where did this come from? Who made this? Did somebody plant this on Kaiser's body to cause division, like a slave or something? But that vibe never gets hinted at. So we're left to think this sign was always around. I genuinely think if the show was its own continuity, there'd have been so many outs like with the sign. The writers could just say, we made it up, we wanted to go in that direction. I mean, you could still make the argument the show is far simpler and less nuanced than the games. but it'd be easier to provide a defense that it's its own universe, it can do what it wants. I do know some fans say the show isn't canon, but I mean, we've had Todd make a deliberate statement on how the show works in the timeline, and now saying Fallout 5 will work off of what's in the show. So it does seem pretty canon in my eyes, and a lot of these decisions it's making I feel are kind of bad for the world and story as a whole, dumbing things down instead of expanding their potential. Sorry if I've come off too rambly, but the long and short of my argument here is the nuance and depth of the Fallout games has been traded out for a far simpler experience that may have ramifications for the future series as a whole. That's a rabbit hole I'm not sure I fully want to go down, so I'm gonna get to my last point. Stupidity. Obviously, it's come up here and there throughout this video how I think the characters and factions are kind of morons. I felt this way in Season 1 as well, especially during the ending where Lucy sides with Moldaver, despite Moldaver having killed people in her vault and almost killing her brother and tricking her into marrying a raider who tried to kill her. Lucy sides with Moldaver over her father Hank. And yeah, her father did kill tens of thousands, but she's learning this info from a known liar who's manipulated her before and is fine with murdering people. Now Lucy's fine trusting and siding with her? Even with the dead mom flashbacks, would you side with someone who caused... It took me right out of the show. Just like Lucy getting rad sickness and then going up to a radioactive crater, Max at his worst. I would have really liked Season 2 to dial up the intelligence a notch, but he doesn't. Right in the first episode, Lucy nearly lets Coop hang. The rope could have snapped his neck and then she'd be screwed, but she does luck out somehow. She's making a plea for the Khans to just let them go with the resources they stole, all the while letting Coop choke to death. It's not even like naive, it's psycho-delusional stupidity. I mean, yeah, she shoots Coop down, but only after nearly getting the guy killed. And it made me realize this season's gonna be rough. Even Coop has a pretty dumb moment in the first episode, where he has this secret talk with Moldaver and takes his daughter Janie with him. All it would take for Coop to be screwed here is for Barb to ask Janie how her day was, and Janie to say, "Dad took me to a restaurant, but asked me to play Whack-A-Commie while he talked to some woman waiting for him." Coop would be in the doghouse at the very least. Right in episode 2, there's a pretty interesting moral dilemma that comes up, where Coop and this Legion slave have both been stung by a rat scorpion, and Lucy needs to decide who to use a stim pack on. But she's also like perfectly fine leaving Coop behind, and I'm sorry, I know Coop was being a bit extra here, getting some extra protein, but I'm fairly certain Lucy hasn't encountered a rat scorpion before. She kind of just assumes she can come back and Coop's gonna be breathing, but how can she be sure? And there's the fact she gets captured by the Legion and sees that same slave get her throat slit. I think that should communicate everything. Be ultra careful here. But no, she just gets angry and insults them, basically. From there's a lot of dumb stuff like the Brotherhood and Caesar's Legion acting more like big kids than adults, waging civil war in the goofiest ways. I can't get over the fact the Legion camps are just literally right next to each other, and somehow war isn't breaking out, or nobody's sniping either Kaiser. I'm actually going to talk about the Enclave just a little bit, because the info we're introduced in this season doesn't help them. Instead of pursuing Dr. Wilzig, who escaped their base and had cold fusion, which other factions knew about and were chasing him for, they seemed to just stay idle in Season 1. There weren't any hints of them tracking the guy down or pulling strings in the background, and in Season 2, we learned that cold fusion is apparently so powerful, a gunshot to it could potentially cause the end of the world.
What happens if I shoot this thing?
The damage would likely extend to other planets, so I would exercise extreme caution.
Meanwhile, the Enclave was seemingly doing nothing to urgently get it back. I'm sure there will be an answer at some point, but the lack of clarity for 2 seasons makes me just come up with the answer in my head that they're idiots. That's what I imagine. I'm also not a fan of the show implying the Enclave dropped the bombs first now, since why would they? The US is technically winning the war. Is it like some elite plan for depopulation? Is that where they're going now? Plus, the Enclave president in Fallout 2 straight up says China fired first. That's what series creator Tim Kaine had in mind as well. But I almost guarantee there's gonna be like another twist, or like ultimately be ambiguous who dropped the bombs first. So I don't know. No pun intended, it's not the end of the world, but it seemed a little silly. I guess we could also talk about the Death Claws not being able to climb this fence somehow, or destroy it for years. Just the fact nobody questions the Kulk when he finally gets the Caesar note. He eats it in secret and kills the only person who saw him read it, but somehow nobody else outside asks what the note said, or questions why the dude was dragging Caesar's sacred bones like a sack of potatoes, or why he killed a dude. There's a lot of stuff that I'm sure could be picked apart. But, I don't know. I'm just kind of tired, boss. The truth is, I don't think the show is for me. And it's probably time to take a page out of New Vegas with letting go. It's my favorite post-apocalyptic franchise, and this is the only new story we've gotten in years outside 76. But at the same time, I think nerd raging about an Amazon show and spending so much energy being upset about the current state of the franchise kind of makes me ignore all the really cool, passionate fan projects or mods that are out. And I'll even say this, right? I'm not trying to say, screw the Fallout show, it shouldn't exist, yada yada. A lot of people really like it. My family likes it, some of my friends like it, people I've worked with liked it, and Tim Kaine said he liked Season 1. I would bet a cap or two that he probably likes Season 2 as well. So this is less of my call to purge the profligates, and more of me just saying, it's not for me. But if you like it, more power to you. My plan going forward is not to make any more videos about future seasons. If it's unavoidable, like if a giant lore nuke gets dropped or we get even more vaults to cover, then yeah, I'll probably do something. But in terms of breaking down each season, giving recaps, I don't think I got it in me to duck and cover again. Thanks for watching, guys. Much more to come. In the meantime, I hope you stay safe out there.
She's Canadian.